So I saw Severance, the last episode of season 2, yesterday, and it was being built up. This whole season, like this is gonna be amazing. People say the first season, the last episode of the first season, was like the most amazing finale of a long time, of like since forever, and it's good. I don't know if it's like the most amazing in a while. I think it's a little bit overblown. I feel like in general at this point, I feel like the hype for Severance is a little bit higher than it should be. I, in general, like watching Severance. It's a fun mystery show. Thematically, it's really interesting, and I like when shows tackle labor issues and capitalism in general. And this is very much part of the show, right? The idea of separating your work life and your personal life into two separate selves, basically. The sci-fi of it all, like, is it really you that's in the severance floor? Is it another you? What does it mean to be you? That's pretty cool stuff, the exploitation of the severed you via this luminous corporation, as well as you might decide to do that to yourself. So it's like you're almost enslaving yourself, which is really interesting idea, right? And I think for the most part it's pretty well done. And the thing is that, like, it takes its time, and with a lot of shows or movies, taking your time isn't necessarily bad. It depends how you feel that time, how you spend that time to get to the main point of the show, right? Or the main climax, or the main big moments, the highlights. And often the show does a good job of that. And I'm interested in the characters, pretty good characters. More often than it should, I think what happens is it meanders, and it luxuriates in its mood a little bit too much, and sometimes it focuses on some characters I'm not as interested in. I think this season it has had that problem more than last season. Like last season, when the episode finished last season, and like the finale of season 1, I was like a bit annoyed that I couldn't see the next episode. It's like, you can't end it there, and then I had to wait like two or 3 years. I don't know, was it 3 years? Damn. But now it's like I've become accustomed to having to wait with this show, that I'm just like, I'm not gonna put on my anticipation in this severance basket and wait anxiously. I'm just gonna like let it go, and I let it go, and I'm like, whatever. The thing is that, like, this particularly, I think this Patricia Arquette's character is maybe the weakest characters so far. They had that idea. This is spoilers, but we're gonna spoil it. Season 2, everything that happened so far. She is the creator of the Severance program. That episode was kind of interesting, that it was kind of like a bottle episode focused just on her, but it wasn't that interesting to me in general. Not that well told, and it just felt kind of like an extra little tidbit that they could have saved for a future season or something. Like it really like messed up the pacing of the season, which was even faltering at that point too, because the episode before that was about Gemma, right? And the backstory of Gemma and Matt's Mark, their love story, which felt, that episode felt like a nice little honeymoon, but it felt a little bit saccharine as well. And it could have had a little bit more tension, a little more showing of their, perhaps more of them fighting each other, some more complexity there. It feels like the show is dealing with a lot of heavy themes, but it seems to like put that in the backdrop as the mystery, right? Like they're like hinting at bigger anti-capitalist themes, but they're not really tackling it with a serious, in-depth look, which it kind of suggests that it might, as it comes to a close, but it's taking too long to get there. But there's a lot of good stuff. Like, I think this episode in particular, talk about labor in particular, this is the best episode tackling those themes when, the marching band comes along and Helly rouses them up and it's like basically about to start a revolution here. And it's like finally they're getting to this revolutionary moment, which I was kind of hoping this season would be about, but now it's like, oh, maybe now next season's going to be about the revolution and Severance, and so it's taking its time. And in the first few episodes of this season actually got me engaged, and I think the first half and even maybe like up to episode 7 or something, for the most part, the pacing was really good and things were going at a good propulsive pace that had me engaged and interested. But then it kind of like just fizzled out a bit, and it started to feel a little bit more pretentious as it went on. They were almost spinning their wheels and trying to be profound without but also withholding, for the sake of the mystery box. There's moments the moment where Mark meets her in the snow. He's like, tell me what's going on, and she just stares at him and doesn't respond. And that's just kind of like what the show feels like. They keep asking these questions, and they leave the answer for next time or for season 3 or something. It feels like, right? And it's just like it becomes tedious, But there's a lot of highs. That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of great moments. The relationship between Mark and Helly is a highlight of the show, and every time they're together, it's really good. So this is a high moment when he's talking to himself. Would have been nice to see something like this happen a little earlier in the season as well. So yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like they're almost dragging things out, the mystery out, so they can really, maybe they're a bit scared, the writers, of how to conclude the show, and so they have some general idea, but they want enough time to actually write it and make it good. And I don't know, I feel like some moments it feels a bit contrived. Mark's decisions, he deciding, to okay, finally deciding, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and complete the Cold Harbor thing because Helly told me to do so. But what's Helly's motivation exactly? She's gonna be okay with disappearing. It felt like a little bit rushed to end here, and a lot of this spectacle moment with him dancing and the animatronic, it's cool little workplace satire, interesting, but again it felt like a little bit indulgent, especially the marching band situation. Almost let's put a big marching band in here because it's kind of weird, let's do that without it having too much thought. And then this thing, who's supposed to be seeing this? This is just for the audience because it's from above, so it feels contrived for the show, not so much realistic for within the world. And so is that a meta commentary, or is it supposed to be, he's actually watching a TV here, the main hearing guy? See, the episode they go to where they go on that outdoors trip in the cold, how do they get there? Was that a simulation? Maybe there are moments of simulation, but the floor itself is a simulation because Gemma, I think, experiences some simulations too. The whole thing is that they're creating a bunch of different versions of Gemma to test out her response to fear and stuff. The lamb sequence, okay, the sacrificial lamb, that, not that exciting revelation there. It's okay, this is pretty much a religious cult / corporation, so it makes sense, I guess, but nothing too exciting there. She comes out here at the end, it could have given her character, within Kirsten's character, more development, because it feels like she rebels here, almost just again contrived for the sake of the plot. where they could have built up her resistance, over the season. So it's almost like a Deus Ex Machina here, where she saves him. So the whole thing about Gemma is that some people theorize that what Lumen wants to do is to end suffering and pain, I think. So like they're putting her through these trials, creating different personalities, different severed versions of her to go through these different trials. So like going to the dentist, being in an airplane crash, and then here the final test, she's taking apart the baby crib because she had a miscarriage and she can't have children, or hasn't been able to. And so if she can do that and she cuts out and she becomes an outie again, if she doesn't have that pain, then the procedure was successful and they can start selling some kind of severance drug or something that can keep your pain away or something. Or you have a severance chip that activates at those moments, so that way you don't remember it. That's maybe what they're trying to do. Why Gemma and why Mark, were they chosen? Because they were just good candidates, I guess. A lot of this stuff is gonna hopefully be revealed next season. I do hope it kind of just ends at next season, because again, I don't know how long they can sustain it unless they radically change it. Like basically next season has to be the revolution of them being in here and doing a sitting strike to demand their rights, as in like they want to have some life. So I imagine the resolution could potentially be like, 1 week, kind of like this, like the substance. 1 week they can be their innies, and the next week they can have their outies. Life, right? So they trade off week per week in the real world or something, not on the severance floor. Maybe they can have different apartments, right, or something. I don't know. And it's going to cause issues, of course, because Mark himself is halfway through integration, which was also a little plot line that felt like they were focusing on, and then they kind of abandoned halfway through the season. Almost as if like, we forgot that we have to like actually close his Mark's character arc first. The ending was visually interesting, thematically it made sense of, but still simple at this point. This is any Mark, and so she doesn't mean anything to him really, and so of course he's going to choose the person he loves, which is Helly. It becomes kind of like a classic 70s love story film or something. There's some filmgrams here at the end, like it's in an older movie, and then it ends in that freeze frame. This is the same effect they use for the episode with Gemma and Mark when they first met in their honeymoon phase. Again, calling back to a simpler, happier time, maybe again even in cinema. So the next season starts off with Mark and Helly's honeymoon phase, but also like last season, it's a big cliffhanger. And some suggested that maybe it should end like this. I don't think it's that satisfying to end it like this, the whole series, because of all the revolutionary potential. Thematically, the series has been building up to the idea of this rebellion, this revolution with the innies fighting for their rights. Like, this ending would be a very cynical one of them. Okay, they're just kind of like venturing back into the void, trying to live happy for just a few more minutes before, eventually maybe they'll get terminated. Likely there's going to be a third season again, because the whole series is so drawn out. I'm kind of just like almost indifferent now at this point. Say, okay, well, let me know when the next season comes up, and then maybe it'll be cool how it ends. But then also maybe it might also be drawn out, and then they'll also have another cliffhanger, season 3, and then again wait another 6 years. There's potential, but I don't know. Again, there was a lot of highs, there were some lows, so it had me rattled throughout, and I was like kind of like lukewarm in season 1. very much engaged by the end of season 1, and then season 2 came along. I got reinterested. Early on in the middle of season 2, I was pretty hyped up on it. I was thinking, oh, this is actually probably the best show in a long time, and then it started to wane, and now I'm back to kind of just like, whatever. A little bit indifferent, but again, because it has a lot of high moments, it still sticks out as a show. But I don't know if I have much faith that they'll come together in the end. Maybe I'm being cynical. I don't know. But those are my general thoughts. Yeah, a lot of rambling. I don't think I have much more in-depth analysis. I didn't have the time or really the desire to like go through each episode. I might have ended up being too negative. I think I would have been. It would have been a little bit of a roller coaster. I feel like if I had done each episode per week, I would have like started off kind of like lukewarm. Then I would get really hyped, like, wow, this is a really amazing show. This is amazing. It's great. And then I would just come down and be like, wow, okay, this is actually kind of shitty. This is bad. And then it's like, okay, it's interesting. Yeah. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. I'll be here under the moonlight. Bye bye.